The LARK150 is Hollyland's first ever wireless microphone system, and being their first attempt at this sort of product, I actually had really low expectations when they offered to send me a kit to review. And I think I may have underestimated them a little bit, because this was really worth taking a look at. This form of wireless microphones, the kind with a mic built into a small transmitter, became quite popular and common these few years since the introduction of the Rode Wireless Go. I'm sure every one of us remember that. And that has kind of kicked off a whole new category of compact wireless microphones. But this is really breathing something new into this category, because this is combining the functionality of wireless microphones with the ease of use we saw from true wireless earbuds. You see, the kit comes with a case that functions like a dock. You would charge your transmitters and receivers through the case, you put them into the case, there's contacts inside, and you plug in a USB power source. But because the case also has a built-in battery, even when you are unplugged and on the move, by storing your receivers and transmitters inside the case, you can also charge them just like a pair of good earbuds. It's actually my favorite feature on the LARK150. But what I really like about the operation of these is how they turn on the moment you remove them from the case, and you give them a moment and they will pair automatically. And when you're done, you simply put them back into the case and it will enter standby mode on its own and begins charging. And if the receiver is also in the case, then the display on the receiver would show the charging status of everything that's currently in the case. Also, you may have noticed that the LARK150 comes with 2 transmitters and a single dual-channel receiver. The transmitters themselves are actually slightly smaller than the Wireless Go's, and the receiver, it's obviously bigger but still impressively small for a dual receiver, is actually smaller than the typical Sennheiser body pack, and also here's an iPhone for scale. Almost all controls on this system are done on the receiver's end. Each dial on the back of the receiver functions as a volume control for one of the transmitters. You just turn them directly and it changes the gain of your transmitter. So it's incredibly useful for adjusting volume on the fly. Huge thumbs up for that. If you give that dial a push, then it will toggle mute for that dial's channel. If you long press the left dial, it changes the output mode, and there's 3 output modes. There's mono, which will mix the signal from both the mics into one summed signal that goes into your camera. That means it sends the same signal across both the left and right channel. There's also a mode labeled ST, which stands for safety track. That's the same as mono, except it outputs one side of that signal at a reduced level, so in case the signal clips, you have a softer backup. And finally, there is stereo mode, which will independently output one transmitter signal into the left channel and the other to the right channel. Now, long pressing the right dial would swap the position of the left and right channels in stereo mode. So we can also see it get flipped over in the user interface. So that would also affect which volume dial you would use for a particular transmitter. And they have actually color-coded each transmitter for ease of identification. There is a turquoise transmitter and there is a blue transmitter. You can see it on its pairing status LED. And on the receiver, it's color-coded in the UI. There's also an LED above each knob to show which color is assigned to that knob. Now, I love the idea of color-coding everything. My only complaint is I wished they used 2 different colors that are a bit more distinct. Blue and turquoise aren't exactly the easiest colors to tell apart, so you do kind of have to look twice sometimes. And if you're familiar with Hollyland products, you would know that the 150 in LARK150 means that the range of the system is 150 feet. So in meters, that is just under 50 meters. Not a shockingly long range, but I would say certainly enough and quite typical for this class of microphones. Bear in mind that these do not even have any exposed antennas on both the transmitters and the receivers. I'm also quite certain that many would be wondering how would the sound quality of the LARK150s compare against the Rode Wireless Go's. So here we have a bit of a sound comparison between the Hollyland LARK150 and the Rode Wireless Go. Now, sound comparisons are actually my least favorite bits because you never have any idea on what to actually say for these things. It is incredibly awkward. But anyway, I think we're done here. The LARK150 does come included with 2 lavalier microphones, so when you plug them into the transmitter, it would bypass the internal mic, and with this setup, it functions more like a typical plug a mic into a body pack transmitter setup. The included lavs with the LARK150 are what I'm using as the main audio for this video right now, and from my testing, the external lavs do sound slightly better than the built-in microphone, so let me go ahead and unplug this. So now you're listening to the built-in audio on the LARK150. I'm going to go ahead and plug the lavalier back in. And though the sound quality out of this system is certainly workable, it's definitely nothing exceptional either. It's not going to sound super high-end, you've been listening to it for the entire video, but keep in mind that this entire system costs less than some high-end lavalier microphones alone. So take for example the one I typically use. This is the Sennheiser MK-E2, and this costs $350. The entire LARK150 system is only $329, so there's that. I'll leave a link below if anyone's interested to pick up one of these kits. And overall, I am very happy that Hollyland decided to dip their toes into the wireless audio market. A pleasant surprise would be the perfect description of what I felt about this kit, considering this is their first ever product. Usually those don't go incredibly well, but they seem to have gotten so many things right. The charging case, the way they turn themselves on and pair when you take them out, and the way they shut themselves off when you put them back in, the design on the receiver, the ease of use of these two knobs and them doubling as push buttons. So many things they got right in a first generation product, so good job to Hollyland for working this out. And if you enjoyed this review, do consider checking out some of my other videos.